This is Kajukenbo After Dark. I'm Senior Grandmaster Jimenez coming out of South Lake Tahoe, California. It's a beautiful sunny day today. I hope you guys had a great Father's Day weekend. I know it was pretty crowded up here with all the tourists coming up here. And I hope you guys had a safe drive home and stuff. Today's show is going to be a little flashback. I thought it'd be kind of a little fun flashback of some of the first time I did forms and one of my fights. You always have a good fight that sticks to your head and you can remember. This is probably in the early 70s. I remember going to Rob Martini's tournament in Stockton, the Captain Weber days. And I was only a young kid, white belt, and, pretty much scared shitless, because it was my first tournament. All my peers in my class, they were all down there stretching out, kicking, working out. And of course I was stuck to my seat like a deer in the headlight, nervous and stuff. And then I remember that I kept asking Tamika son, next, am I next? Pretty soon. So finally they called me down there and our group, and my teammates, my classmates wound up getting eliminated. And so I won my first fight, then I won my second fight, then I won my third fight, and I'm just, still nervous because I've never competed in a tournament. And I kept asking Tamika son's dad, how many more I fight? Just one more. Anyway, it came down and I won third place in the fighting division. Now, I know a lot of you think, oh, big deal, third place. But back then, there's a lot of people competing. And remember, this is my first tournament. So, and the trophy, nice, big, beautiful looking trophy. And I remember driving home, sitting in that, holding that trophy, going, "Oh my God, I can't believe that I won this trophy." And that was probably, the first. Well, actually, it was the first tournament I competed in, and then I placed. And then I got overwhelmed because the next tournament was the Internationals in Long Beach. I had no clue it was that big. When we get there was like 200 people in our division. I'm like, oh my God, So that didn't go too well. I got disqualified the first round. And then probably my second fight that I'm most proud of, and one of the Crazy Dragons, Donald Hubman, was their best fighter at the time. Sash and those guys, they weren't even in karate yet. And I used to call him Crazy Legs. And I used to watch that guy fight. Man, he was quick, he's fast, his feet were like lightning, right? And I would say to myself, man, I'd like to beat that guy one day. Really, long story short, it came down to me and him one time in a tournament. We were green belts. And Joe Myers had a green belt division. Anyway, it came down for me and him for first and second place. And that match went back and forth, tied up, back and forth. We had half the auditorium on our side watching us fight. And I eventually beat him. And that was probably my biggest joy that day, was and a memorable moment in fighting was beating him, because he was probably the top fighter at that time. So I remember I always kept that trophy special, And then later on, we fought 3 times. And the second time we fought, same thing, back and forth. It was tied up. And, being a rookie, he fell to the ground to do a technique, and he stopped. So I reached down to pull him up with my hand, and he held up and kicked me. Of course, they gave him the point. and he took first, I took second, and that didn't end well with him after he did that to me. I don't get into that, but and then later on, my first time fighting black belt division, the first thing I fight, you two fight, and of course I just beat him, you know. And so then I went on to fight for first and second place, my first time fighting black belt division. So those, you know, some of the good memories, you know, there's so many. I mean, just, you know, because we went to tournaments every weekend, but there's just a couple that really make me stand out. Now in the forms division, same thing. You know, the fighting, you know, we used to always do. We didn't do too much of the forms, and then I thought, you know, I'm gonna try to get in the forms. Remember, I was only a white belt at that time, again. And I remember standing up in front of Great Grandmaster Al Novak, as big as he was, you know, scared to death, because, you know, the forms I find is actually harder to do than it is to fight. Because fighting, you can make a mistake, but you can still go on and win. And the forms, you make a mistake, you're done. So you really got to pay attention and concentrate on that. Anyway, same thing, scared, and I wound up taking third place. And there's only a little trophy about that big, but it had like a solid metal guy on top. So it was kind of cool. You know, and then I went on to, you know, start competing more in forums and stuff. And I got up there, rated, and I won't get into all that. But I mean, that was my first time doing forums. And then my second time doing forums, we weren't supposed to go to Joe Myers' tournament. I guess Grandmaster Vargas and him had words or whatever. But, you know, I was only young, and I said, well, shoot, I'm just going to go, you know. Because, like I said, young and naive. So I went, and I took first place, and they put me in his magazine thing. Boy, did I get in trouble. Never heard the end of it. You know, I walked into the karate school, and Tammy Croissant's all, so, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, yeah, you know. And then he's like, well, you just got in the karate magazine. He goes, Steve was going to be so pissed at you. And he was mad at me for a while, but then it actually kind of worked for the better, because then he turned around and they pretty much made up, and we were allowed to go to his tournaments and stuff. And that was kind of fun. But probably one of the best moments that I had in forms. I took several grand champions over and over and over and over, you know, all that stuff. But years down the line, I was in the black belt division, and the biggest compliment ever was I was competing, and this Chinese boy did a Hungar form, I think, if I remember right, and he beat me. And the biggest compliment is when they called my name for second and they called him for first. All he did was jump up and down. I mean, just like hands up in the air, jumping up and down. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I beat him, I beat him, I beat him, I beat him. You know, for me, that was the biggest compliment that I ever had, was taking second place to that boy. You know, it actually made me feel real good watching the excitement that he had, because I had the same thing with Henry Martinez. I'm talking about in the 70s. He dominated the hardstyle division in the tournaments, to grand champion all the tournaments and stuff. And I always said to myself, man, I have to beat that guy. And then one day, eventually, I beat him, and pretty much retired him, because then he retired after that. And then I just went on to go on to do what I did. But those are some of the kind of memories that you have, that you kind of think back, you know. And it doesn't mean, you know, oh yeah, I took all these grand champions. I mean, sure, they were good, they were happy. It was cool to do that. But the moments like the Chinese boy jumping up and down, the first time doing kata, the first time fighting, those are the memories that you stick in your head. Me and Grandmaster Willis went to all the tournaments back in the day. So it was fun. We enjoyed them. Like most rookies, you couldn't wait to go see the trophies. Now they give out a dumbass medal. Back then we had nice big trophies. 6-foot grand champions. And stuff like that. And those are memories that you can never take away from your past. That's for me. A lot of people they took a huge grand champion, a huge tournament, and sure, that's a great time, and that's a big memory. But for myself, the smaller memories of those little things I explained today was kind of cool. So like I said, I decided to throw this out there today. This is, like I said, this is Kajukenbo After Dark. So it's just stuff like this I'm going to post. If you're interested, great. If you're not, it's okay. If you want to be on the our podcast, you just give me a call. It's 530-545-9018. Or you can email me at wwka@aol.com. And we can put you on the podcast, or Dave Charlesworth from Kajukenbo Napoli can put you on his podcast. But like I said, just that's why I call it Poker After Dark, because after dark you're sitting in your room or you're watching TV and these little thoughts go through your head. And good times are good memories. Because you can never replace the good times back in the day and the memories that you occurred, growing up through the martial arts. So all I gotta say is enjoy those memories, train hard, and until next time, this is Kajukenbo After Dark. I'm Senior Grandmaster Jimenez, and I hope you enjoyed this show, and you'll see much more to come. Thank you.